Hey, Ruthless Church, what's up? Pedro here, and today I want to talk to you about prayer. Yesterday, the pastor of the church where I work, he started preaching out of Psalm 63, and I already knew in advance that he was going to talk about prayer. And when I noticed that he was going to talk about Psalm 63, I thought, okay, I wonder how far he's going to go with this one, because I have recently become a member of a more liberal denomination, right? So there's for every kind of denomination there's ups and downs, or depending on the person. So at any rate, the downside of liberal denominations sometimes is that they don't go deep into some of the things that might be painful from time to time to confront. So I thought that the pastor when he preached, I thought he might stop in Psalm 63 and all the good things that David says about God, because David's going through this junk with Absalom, which is his son who turned on him. So, but while David's out in the wilderness, he is also praying deeper to God. So he gets into this verses and stuff, and he's just like, "Oh God, you're my God. Early I will seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land. When I remember you on my bed, I meditate on you in the night watches. And because you have been my help, therefore in the shadow of your wings I will rejoice." And it's like all this wonderful stuff about God. And then all of a sudden, at around verse 9, he switches up and he starts talking about his enemies, which is his son and the people who turned on him. So he ends up saying, "But those who seek my life to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for jackals." And he wanted jackals to eat them. "But the king shall rejoice in God, and everyone who swears by God shall glory. But the mouth of those who speak lies shall be stopped." So this is like when, David gets gangster in his prayers, basically. And I'm thinking, okay, I know that the pastor's going to probably say some of the good stuff, and he's going to stop at verse 8. And then but then when the liturgist was reading it, he just kept on going. So I said, ooh, how's he going to get out of this one, And then he, in his sermon, addressed that point and said, hey, I could have tried to get out of this, but I'm not. So this is what he basically said, and this is what I thought was pretty cool. He basically said, God doesn't want our flowery words and our oh God, and it kind of falls in line with my last post about anger being appropriate sometimes. He goes into this thing of God isn't looking for us to be like, oh God, you are the beautiful creator of flowers and leaves, and while simultaneously you're feeling like junk. Because in Peter it says, cast all your cares before God, because God cares for us. And I take that to mean, whatever I'm feeling, that I should put it before God, because, in humanity, you're going to experience all kinds of stuff. I said that in the last post, so I won't get deep this time, or deep into it. But I really appreciated that he addressed that, because we get angry in humanity. We get betrayed. We go through all sorts of things, and we hide it from each other. We try to be polite all the time and say things that we think people want to hear, and then we try to put that on God. God, if we believe in God, most of us believe that God already knows anyway. So why be sitting there saying, David wanted his enemies to get eaten by jackals, man. That's how he was feeling right then. And he probably felt good to get that out. And then probably was like, oh, okay, because, he was sad when his son died, ultimately, and he didn't want that to happen. So, the point is that, we hide enough as it is about what we really feel. So why hide it from God when we had the opportunity to just put ourselves out there? Because I'm going to tell you straight up, I went through this phase one time where I was so mad at life and at the church. I was real mad at the church and everything. And then I was mad at God. And I'm going to put the post up there. There's this one post I call Road Trip with God, DMX, and 23 bottles of water. Because, man, I was going down. I had spent a lot of years trying to be a good guy, trying to do the right thing. I was in love with my my like wife and everything, but somehow I couldn't communicate that to her and she couldn't hear it. And I'm not putting it on her. I'm just saying it's like we couldn't connect. I don't know why. It just wasn't happening. And I was praying to God, like, help us. You know, didn't seem to happen. And I think she was praying the same thing. So I don't know what to say about that. But the point is that I was praying and I thought like I was in the deepest of my prayers and I came up with this plan, blah, blah, blah. I ain't gonna get into that either. But to try to just get us to work it out, you know, but I couldn't do it. And when the plan didn't work, that I thought was gonna save my marriage, and it went down to dookie shoots, I was mad. But actually, at first I said, man, well, you know, that's God doing what God's doing. But then I went to the church and I was like, well, you know, I'm going to try to just keep praying and have faith that God's going to bring my wife back. And everybody was, at the church was kind of like, you need to, you walking around too confident. You need to, like, they were trying to make me feel like junk. And no offense to them, they just thought that I wasn't responding to the situation appropriately. They didn't know I was like a child of divorce or something. So I just kind of was like, well, it happens, but I'm praying that it doesn't happen to me. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to transition, but the transition is I got mad. I got real mad, and I was so mad at God, I didn't want nothing to do with God. So then next thing you know, I started listening to my DMX CDs like crazy. I was already listening to them and kind of being like, I probably shouldn't be listening to this and trying to go to church and stuff. But I just liked some of his songs, so I just made excuses. But then, man, I started blasting. I was on it, boom, 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 or whatever. You know, I was like that, and I had gotten to this point where I was like drinking and acting like a jerk and everything, and just trying to make up for all the times I was trying to be good, and seemed like it didn't work in my favor. Because, boy, I ain't even get into my background. I'm just gonna say. Anyway, I was at this point where I was like, all that goodness was for nothing, and I was mad, and I turned my back on God. Because I was like, God turns back on me or her back or its back or whatever. So I was not happy. And then like at the pit of it, man, I was like, my wife and I, when we split up, I had the little raggedy car that we had and she had the nice car. So I couldn't go out and like be looking cool when I had the raggedy car. So we agreed I was going to get the nice car back. So I went to go pick it up and I was like, yeah, man, I'll get back. I'm going to be like this. Or however I was being, and I was driving back listening to DMX CDs thinking I was going to be hard, which really in real life I'm not hard at all. And I was sitting there listening, I was driving back and I was like stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop, roll. I was just like, man, I was ignorant. Not that that's ignorant, I'm just saying my mindset was, I ain't going to lie about it. I was just like, I'm going to do like this. I'm going to be like this to women because of all the times I was nice and they ain't like me. They just like thugs. That's all right. I'm going to be a thug too. And I was like just acting. Oh, man, it was pathetic. And then I kept hearing pray in my mind. But I was P.O.'d. So I was like, I ain't praying. And I kept hearing it. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. And I was like, because I was telling myself I don't even believe in God anymore. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting there, I'm listening to one of DMX's like roughest messed up songs. And he said something like, in one of his songs, he was like, if your daughter's older than 15, I'm a raper. And I was like, hold up, what does dude say? Did he just say if your daughter's older than 15, I'm a raper? No offense, DMX, I know he was artistic, but anyway, it was kind of messed up. So I heard him say that, and I was like, eesh. And I was like, how many times have I said that out loud, and I didn't even realize it? And I was like, woo, and then I kept hearing turn off the music and pray. So I thought, dude, I am losing my mind, and I didn't want to do it. But eventually, I had gotten, it's like, I've been driving so long, and I was tired, and like, and every time I tried to drive, I started wanting to fall asleep, and every time I tried to stop, I couldn't sleep. So I was, like, taking no-dos, and then I was taking, like, to stay awake on the road, but then I tried to take some sleeping pills when I got to the hotel. I was just, And then finally, I couldn't take it anymore, so I decided to pray, and I said, this is the worst prayer ever. I said, look, why don't you leave me alone? I don't even believe in you. Leave me alone. I'm just praying so you just leave me alone or whatever. And then I heard this voice in my head. I'm not saying I ain't crazy. I'm just telling you what I heard. And it said, if you don't believe in me, who are you mad at? And I was like, oh, snap. I don't know what to say to that. So then, after I said that, I was like, man, it's like, well, you're either mad at me or you're mad at yourself. That's your choice. So I decided to be mad at God. But I was praying. I was engaging with God. And lo and behold, I started getting tired of this hotel room. I fell asleep. 4 hours later, I woke up. I was so refreshed. I felt so much at peace. I don't know what happened. And all of a sudden, my brain said, or whatever, I don't know how to express it, but it was like, either God is absolute or God is not at all. And you got to choose. And I said, ooh. And I chose that God was absolute. And then it turned my life around. And it was a prayer. It was the wackest prayer. And I didn't even say the whole full whackness of the prayer. But it was the worst prayer I could imagine saying without blaspheming the Holy Spirit. It was Jesus was like, that's the one you can't come back from. And my life turned around. And it's still on that turnaround. And along that way, I passed a lot of things that I encountered in my heart and in my mind and my soul. But I'm telling you, the prayer was that. And it was honest. Just like David wanted his enemies to get eaten by a jackal. So I totally appreciate our pastor going into that and sharing that. And I'm gonna put that out there to you guys. That sometimes we think that we have this politician idea of God where we gotta be saying some junk. But if God knows anyway, why front? That's all I'm gonna say. So hopefully y'all get something out of this. You feel like you can pray to God or not God, because I wasn't praying to God when I made my turn. I was praying to my disbelief. But at any rate, hopefully you get something out of it, and you know that somewhere out there you are being received as you are in the moment, warts and all, as they say. I love you for no reason.